We good? This meeting is called to order. Welcome to the Town of Avon Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. If you are interested in having a copy of the agenda or the staff reports, they're available on the tables to the right of the audience. This meeting is being recorded for the public record. Because of this, we request that personal conversations are kept to a minimum and cell phones are set to vibrate with any phone calls taken outside of the chambers. If you're interested in commenting during any public hearing, please sign up on the sheets located on the tables to the right of the audience. When your name is called, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Please address your comments to the board and not staff or the appellant. Your comments should relate directly to the case at hand. We do understand that there may be several persons who wish to speak. The chair may therefore impose a time limit for each person. Federal law requires that the town make available to all attendees a Title VI public involvement survey. These surveys are on the table to the right of the audience. Members of the public who wish to complete the survey may do so and place them in the designated area. If because of a disability, any person in attendance needs assistance or accommodation to fully participate in this meeting, please notify staff. Thank you for your assistance in facilitating a respectful, fair, and timely meeting. Again, welcome to our meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're ready for roll call?
Paul Gutenberger.
Here.
Ann Inman.
Here.
Catherine Brandford.
Here.
Marcy Tashler.
Here.
Marcus Turner.
Here.
You're here, honey.
I'm here. I'm here. Election of board officers. I'm using the wrong one. Okay. Meeting minutes from February 17th, 2022. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? And if there are none, we'll entertain a motion.
I move we accept the meeting minutes of February 17th, 2022.
Motion by Mrs. Ransberg. Is there a second? Second by Mrs. Inman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Are there any requests for continuances or agenda modifications? Then we will skip right to new business. This is SE 22-02, Love It or Sew It. Staff?
SC 2202, Love It So. This is a request for approval of a special exception to allow for a retail good establishment with less than 5,000 square feet of floor area within a C4 district. It's located at 891 North Avon Avenue, in Avon, Indiana, 46123. It's located 400 feet south of the southeast corner of Avon Avenue and 100 North. That's just south of the Hendricks County Bank there. Zone C4, that's a transitional office district, and it's currently vacant. It's located within the Signature Streets Overlay District. Surrounding land uses are largely commercial to the north, and it's surrounded by residential on every other side. Here's a picture of the subject property. You can see it. Oh, I have a pointer here. I usually use that. You can see it here, just south of Hendricks County, south here, Avon Avenue. You'll notice there's a Speedway gas station here. There is CVS Pharmacy, the Habitat for Humanity Restore, and just north of that is the car wash. Here's the plan that was submitted. They currently have a development plan review in process. This is the plan here. I don't believe that was included within your staff report because it was newly submitted, but here is the plan itself. They did have some revisions to do, so this is not exactly what will be put in, but it's what they provided to us. Some history: this property was annexed into the town in 2003 under Ordinance 2003-30. Following the annexation, it was rezoned to C4 transitional office per Ordinance 2003-37. As I mentioned, it's currently undergoing development plan review per DPR 22-05. And it will be heard by the Planning Commission on March, that should be April 25th, 2022. Per table 27, permitted use table, retail good establishments under 5,000 square feet of floor area are only permitted within the C4 zoning district by special exception. The appellant states in their letter of intent that they propose to construct a single-use commercial building for the purpose of operating a selling business with an approximate floor area of 4,000 square feet. That business will include sewing services, sewing machine sales and repair, fabric sales, and sewing classes. We do find this proposal to be consistent with and conducive to the surrounding land uses. This use appears to be ideal for a lot of this size. You'll notice it's a rather small lot. And in this location, it'll serve as a nice transitional buffer between the residential uses from the south and the east to the higher intensity uses to the north. As I mentioned, the gas station, the car wash, the home improvement store. Section 10-4 purpose statements of our zoning ordinance states that C4 transitional office district is here and established to provide for and encourage the establishment of professional office and service related activities. But most importantly, the district is intended to serve as a transition between residential uses and more intense commercial development. We find that this proposed development accomplishes that intent exceptionally well. We do find this proposal to meet all criteria of special exception, and we do recommend approval of this petition, subject to the standard condition that the approval is subject to the review and approval of the development plan review petition in accordance with section 4-8.3 of the Avon zoning ordinance. And with that, I am available for questions.
Questions for staff? And
So the variance being requested is because the proposed building is going to be less than 5,000 square feet, correct?
It's not a variance, special exception.
Special exception,
But
sorry.
yes, I believe, and I can double check, but anything over 5,000 square feet would not be permitted. Let me check that. Yep, in C4, retail goods establishments greater than 5,000 square feet are not permitted. So you're asking why are we here? Why is this?
Right.
And that's a great question. And I thought about it a lot. And I actually talked with Mitchell about it, and it's been a point of contention. So it is permitted by special exception in C1 and C4. C1 is a neighborhood commercial district. That's a district for commercial uses integrated within surrounding residential uses.
Which that would be.
Well, this is C4, and C4 is designated for transitional uses. So in both of those, it is required by special uses. And as with special exceptions, they are here for a greater degree of scrutiny. So basically, being that this is a retail use, the ordinance wants us to ensure that whatever proposed use is going in there is appropriate, being that it's near residential uses.
So
You'll
it's
find-
retail use as opposed to, as opposed to office or, no, what was the definition for the C4?
C4 is
Or office
office,
and there was a second,
commercial.
some other, but it wasn't retail.
No,
It's-
yeah, it was an office district, correct.
Okay, so basically this is because it's not an office, that's where the variance comes in.
More or less, yes.
Okay.
Special exception.
Oh, sorry, special
fine.
exception.
You'll find that in C2 and C3, which are general commercial and highway commercial. These are permitted by right. So I have concurred that it is because of its proximity to residential uses that a special exception is required for this retail use.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
Sure.
So if we would grant this special exception and it's smaller, right, than the 5,000 square feet requirement,
Mhm.
what happens to the overage? That if it's smaller, that leaves land next door to it. And I'm pretty familiar with that because I don't live that far from there.
Mhm.
I'm behind it, but I go there all the time, go by there. So I know that there's residences pretty close,
Mhm.
right in there. So I'm trying to envision another building beside the bank, but it's a little smaller. So what happens to that? Is there enough room in that space there to invite another business?
Nope.
So what happens to that?
It encompasses a large portion of that property. Could I have you pull up the presentation?
So is it just space that these folks own and have to maintain? Does this town get involved in that?
So as you can see here, the lower square there, that is the boundaries of the property there. So we have a drainage easement here. So it really does encompass the majority of this property, which staff finds to be appropriate.
So in essence, what you're saying is that the building would be smaller. Is that right? Than 5,000 square feet
Yes.
requirement, but the property would all be just the property as it butts up to the residence next door.
I believe so,
Is
yes.
that right? Do I
Yeah.
have that right in my mind?
I believe so.
It looks like the property, because of the easement, may not be able to accommodate a 5,000 square foot.
Well, greater than 5,000 square feet isn't even allowed
Right,
in these, so they would need some sort of variance of use.
right,
if-
but
if
this,
that were-
but this is saying under 5,000 square feet. Oh, I'm misreading it, never mind. Only permitted. Okay, I'm a little confused. Under 5,000 are only permitted within C4 by special exception, but C4 doesn't allow anything over 5,000?
Correct. It's not the size that is dictating the special exception, I find. I find it is the retail.
The retail,
use.
okay.
The commercial retail use is what requires a greater degree of scrutiny and not the size.
Okay.
Okay, another question.
Mhm.
So explain to me then, will this establishment share a parking lot or an entrance with the bank?
It will share an entrance. Yes, there is a access easement there. You'll see just here, it connects with the entrance to the Hendricks County Bank.
Is that a north-only pullout?
Yes, I believe so.
So it's right in, right out.
I believe so. I could be wrong about
Yeah,
that.
there's a
but
median.
There's a median in
I do
there.
believe that there's a median, yeah.
Whereas the bank, you can go back out onto 10th Street.
From 100 North, yep.
Yes, it has kind of what I call dual
Mhm.
access.
Any other questions for staff? Then we're right here for the petitioner.
There we go. Boom, boom. Okay. Well, good evening. For the record, Andy Colt with Comer Law Office, 71 West Marion Street in Danville. Ian gave a pretty good synopsis there. Just to start and bring a little more clarity to that discussion you were having, I'm not sure if I was hearing, you asked a question about the requirement. So in terms of the requirement, there's not a requirement on 5,000 square feet. And you asked what happens to the overage if it's not. What Ian said last, I agree with. So the consideration is in C4, office transitional use, the determination has been made through drafting the ordinance that some retail could be appropriate in the C4 district. But we're going to limit that to small retail. So retail up to 5,000 square feet could be appropriate. Now it's by special exception to give you all an opportunity to say, is it appropriate here, as opposed to just any retail could go in. But the determination has been made, anything over 5,000 would not be appropriate for C4 because of that transitional character. So I think that would be the way to look at it.
So the 5,000 is just simply a recognition that the C4 doesn't allow.
It's just a cutoff to say anything over that's really not appropriate in that district.
Okay.
It's
Then you need a C2,
classification. I
C3.
would consider it to
Gotcha.
be, think of it as small retail versus large retail, I suppose.
Right.
But I point that out just to point out that the determination is there through drafting the ordinance in this manner, that retail is not a no-no. It's just that you all should have an opportunity to say, is this a good place for what's being proposed? So I just wanted to clarify that. So I am representing your petitioners this evening. I've got Darlene Phillips and Katie Dines in the audience with me. They're a mother-daughter duo. Are those my slides, Ian? Okay, so you've already seen it. I've got the property highlighted right there by 10th Street. If you want to go to the next one, I did include so there's the C4 there, the dark red, that's our parcel. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of your zoning map. You've got what is that, C2 all around? I can't see that. C2 all around it, or to the north and west. So that's where you get into, when that was brought in 2003 and it was zoned, the thought was we've got more, presumably the thought was we've got more residential south of 10th Street than we do north. So let's create a parcel here to buffer those residences rather than having a car wash just right up against a residence. So the request is for a special exception for retail up to 5,000 square feet in the C4. The specific proposal is for the petitioners Love It Sew business. As was mentioned, sewing service for the public, sewing machine sales and repair, fabric sales, and then some sewing classes in there. The current anticipation, and as mentioned, it is going through DPR. I'm not sure what Dale Cruz's office is working on that. I haven't seen the latest plan, but when we last spoke, it was about a 4,000 square foot building. Darlene and Katie would be the primary employees. Okay, they're the owners of the business. They'll be the employees. Could have another employee in there if one of them, they envision having two there, two on staff. So if one of them was gone, they might have a part-time person. I think we can safely say to you that if I throw out the number 4, that's a max. I've confirmed with them that they wouldn't see that exceeding that, but probably not even reaching the 4. Can you show that next slide? And you've seen this already, but I think it was mentioned, there is an easement that was put in place in 2007. The same owner owned both these lots, and before he sold the bank lot, he created an easement. So as you come in, the banks, the first, I don't know, 50 or 60, probably not that much, 30 or 40 feet, there's a turnoff there. So we would be entering from the same road cut. When we talk about the retail use and whether that's appropriate for a site, I think it's important to look at the ordinance and the C4 permitted uses and what could go in there. What you have listed as permitted uses that would not need to come before you, and they could put them in tomorrow, would be a banquet facility, childcare business, healthcare clinic. So it's zone C4 office transitional, but you can see there are permitted uses in there that are clearly not office uses. I think those 3 in particular would be definitely more intense than what's being proposed here. And so I bring that up as a support that I do believe this is, we believe this is a good buffer transitional use between the commercial and the residential. To my understanding, the parcel was annexed and zoned in 2003. So, we're 19 years in of having a parcel that could use some infill development. We've got a good use here that puts some tax base to the town after 19 years, and we think it's a good opportunity to get this parcel built on. We do have favorable staff recommendation. There's a condition in there that we will attend DPR and certainly do that. Issues like what you see there, and then the building design, that will all be taken care of through that process. So we're happy to answer questions you might have, but we'd respectfully ask for your approval this evening.
Before we get into questions, let's go ahead and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone signed up to speak? Or is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Ed Budd. My wife Pam and I live at 7068 Bridgemont Court, which is directly behind this lot. We'll be able to see the building from our back deck. We have no real objection to it, so why am I here? By the way, for this rare and singular occasion, I'm authorized to speak for my wife. So the reason we're here is we have a question and a concern, maybe a question for council. The question is, there's this lot where the sewing store would be, then there's the bank, and then there's another big lot or a double lot facing 10th Street, and that one backs up to like 8 houses, not just 1 or 2. So the question is that zoned the same as this one? And I can go right ahead to my concern, because that'll kind of tell you why I'm asking. Pardon me?
Just east of the bank.
Yes, it would be east of the bank and facing 10th Street or 100 North. Our concern is there anything about making an exception or a special exception for this property that would in any way waive or stop or impugn any prerogatives the board had about making any exceptions for the other property that faces 10th Street? If so, we would have some concern, because we wouldn't want a Burger King or a something that's open all night and nasty like another Speedway sitting right on that lot. But as far as the sewing thing goes, we like small business. We like locally owned small business. We agree with your staff that a sewing place is about as great a thing as you could ask, and have a business there that won't be a problem for any of the residents. So we have no real objection to that, but our concern is it going to restrict your options to make exceptions for that other lot that would be a big problem for us? Does that make sense?
Ian, you want to go ahead and tackle that?
So this approval would have no effect on that neighboring lot to the east. That neighboring lot is zoned C2, however, which is general commercial. That would allow for more or less higher intensity uses for that lot. That's as far as I can really speak on it. Before anything were to be developed on that lot, they would be required to go through a development plan review, stand before the plan commission. But if they were to provide plans that were in accordance with our zoning ordinance, then that would be able to be approved.
So say another Speedway, that wouldn't require a special exception. It could be,
And while Ian is looking,
Auto filling stations
Um,
are a permitted use in C2.
now, if it doesn't require an exception, would there be a meeting like this with a public comment? Or it could just.
There would.
slide through?
It is a development plan review, so if they were to intend to, or propose to develop something of that sort, they would provide, a site plan, showing the building and its setbacks from the lot lines and all sorts of things. And, if those plans were to be in compliance with our zoning ordinance, subdivision control ordinance, stormwater ordinance, then that would be approved.
It would also go in front of the planning commission.
Would
Yeah,
we know that it
that's-
was happening at the time?
Those are public meetings.
Yeah, it's a public
It
meeting.
wouldn't,
You
it
would be
wouldn't
able
come
to
here
speak.
and go directly to the plan
I
commission.
mean, we knew about this meeting because there was a special notice in our mailbox.
As a homeowner, you would get a notice because you back up to that.
Yes.
Requirements under the ordinance are that any property within 660 feet or 2 properties in depth
Okay.
are required to be notified by mail.
Cool.
So if you meet those standards, then you will have a letter informing you that there is a public hearing in which you would be able to comment.
Thank you.
there would also be a sign posted on their property noticing that public hearing as well. And just to the BZA here, while you are a quasi judicial body, you do not set precedent. So no matter what your decision is tonight, if another developer came before you to try to fill in that other property, your decision here tonight wouldn't have any impact on whether you're required to or not grant another special exception or variance.
So that answers my question. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else care to speak? And with no one coming forward, we will close the public hearing. Did you want to respond to any of that?
No, I appreciate the comments to the extent there was support of the sewing business. And I agree with everything I heard explained, so.
Questions for petitioner?
So did we have anybody else come forward when the letters went out, or I'm curious whether there was any other feedback?
I received one phone call from the president of the bank, Jerry Oram, and asked me for the lot layout. And I originally sent him a document that he wasn't asking for. And when I sent the layout, he said, perfect, that's what I needed. And I didn't hear back. That's the only comment I received.
Before we get too far ahead, Mitchell just informed me I forgot to close the public hearing. So public hearing's closed now. Go ahead.
I guess my other question is, it's full of questions tonight. Architectural drawing, is there anything, a plan for what this is going to look like? I'm thinking about lighting, hours of operation.
Well, we're certainly going to be dealing with all that through the DPR process. This, I don't have anything with me. I think Cruz's office has all that, but it will be, everything will go through DPR. They're handling that. And so I assume, I haven't been called that there's any necessity for variances, so I assume that everything's in line with the ordinance requirements on that.
I have a question that I don't know if you can answer, perhaps the petitioner can, but I understand there's going to be sewing services, yay, sewing machine sales and repair, fabric sales, and sewing classes. And I'm curious as to how much of the space is dedicated to classroom space, I'm assuming for teaching, sewing, et cetera, versus the retail space.
Well, let me bring them on up.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Darlene Phillips. I live at 802 Charing Cross in Danville. There is a large classroom because we sell Bernina sewing machines. You need to understand how to use them. They're very, some of them are more intense than others. So we want to make sure anybody that buys a product from us knows how to use it and enjoy it to the full extent. So there is a space that has got a large television projector type area, room for 10 different desks. We also want to be a place where quilters primarily can meet and talk and that sort of thing. So does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
So it would be not just a space to teach people how to sew, but also to teach them how to use the machines that you sell.
Exactly. And also other quilting or sewing related projects.
Okay.
Question about the repair part of your business. Do you have some sort of a area in your business where there
Yeah.
will be,
So my architect has a plan that he will present. I'm sorry that we don't have it with us tonight. The Cruz office does have all that. The actual retail space is not 4,000 square foot. It's more like 3,200, including the classrooms and the display area for the sewing machines and fabric. Then there is almost 900 square foot that is a storage and repair in employee break room area.
And how many parking spaces are going to be part of that?
I think 16 was what,
I don't have that offhand.
Well, at least as far as the time when that version I put up there was submitted, it's on there. You could probably see it better on the computer than we can see it here.
I will say I had technical advisory committee meeting this morning, in which we go through all of the development plan review petitions and other plan commission petitions. And I ran that in Bill's stead. And while I didn't fully review this project, Bill did not have any concerns in his response letter in regards to parking.
So I just want to make sure we don't end up having issues where people are using bank parking as overflow. And if you've got 16 spaces and let's assume you have 10 people and 2 employees, seems like that should cover it.
They'll also be required to comply with our parking standards. And if there is overflow, then they could either request a waiver on the DPR process, or we might even talk with them about a commitment or a condition way further on down the road about a shared parking agreement with the bank. But again, all that will come up in the DPR process.
Other questions or discussion? I've been through the staff report. I thought this was a very good one. Thought you hit everything. I did have one issue. It was with operation being detrimental to public health and safety. With what we got in our packet, I had no clue what the ingress egress situation was. And I realize that's starting to get into what Plan Commission does, but I was just looking for a general view. The plan you put up there answered my questions, so I'm happy with what the staff report said, and I think everything's been hit.
Yeah, if we're doing general discussion, I agree. The staff report was good. And when I look at criterion 3 too, that I agree here that this is a good transitional business for that area. We're looking at a building potentially around 4,000-ish square feet. So it's not a large imposing building. So good transition from residential into that where the bank is, like how they are doing a shared ingress egress there. So not another cut onto the road. So, I would agree with the staff's assertions that the criterion have been met here and it is a good business for what we're looking for in that area.
And in addition to your comments about criteria 3, I'm going to skip ahead to 9 about is this in accordance with the comp plan? And I was part of the comp plan group last time we did it, and we set up these kind of intersections for this type of development, and this is exactly what we had envisioned. So I think it fits well with the comp plan.
I also agree. And again, congratulations to Ian for providing as usual, really excellent report. But I also agree with the petitioner's assertion that different kinds of businesses would fit in within this. But this particular, if there was a childcare facility or a medical building, there'd be a lot more traffic. That's a busy intersection with a right in, right out only egress. People would have to be using the park or the bank parking lot to, try and avoid a U-turn and that sort of thing. So having this specific type of business, I think is a really, really, as Ian said, an exceptionally good fit for this location.
Any other discussion? If there's none, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve SE 2202 Love It So, a special exception to allow for a retail good establishment with less than 5,000 square feet of floor area subject to the following condition. The development shall be subject to the review and approval of a development plan review petition in accordance with section 4-8.3 of the Avon zoning ordinance.
Well, motion by Mr. Guckenberger is our second.
A second.
Second by Mrs. Ransberg. Any discussion? Ready for a vote?
Paul Guckenberger.
4.
Ann Hinman.
4.
Catherine Ransford.
4.
Marcy Cashler.
4.
Marcus Turner.
4.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Ian, this is what you need signatures on? This and
We'll find it back
And the minutes. I'll get these going in the meantime. Public comment. Does anyone wish to address the board?
Steve Eismarth, 7599 Foxtail Circle, the beautiful Pines of Avon. Little plug. No, very good. I thought, very good on the staff report, going through that, and the analysis that everyone went through. And I just, I appreciate watching it and being able to see in person what's going on. So just thank you for everyone for your service. It's just fun to be able to see this going on. I know it gets boring, but it's nice that we don't have long cases going on here. This is a nice night. The Plan Commission last time I attended, they had 7 of them, and they plowed through them really well, which I thought was great. And they're going to do well when they have more than 7 coming.
We've got, was it 9 or 10 minutes?
Oh, it's just they're going to be a short 10. It's going to be.
Got through 6. We got through 6, and I was like, yeah, it's just one more.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your endurance and taking time to look at the cases and make notes in there and think of your questions. So just want to say thank you, and for staff, I really appreciate you guys too. Thank you. That's all.
Anyone have anything else for the good of the cause? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.